They say nature doesn't remember, that wild animals don't have a conscience, that they act purely on instinct, nothing more, nothing less. But what if that isn't true? This is the story of a man, a remote Himalayan forest, and an encounter that would forever blur the line between instinct and intention. His name was Ilyas, a quiet man, a tracker by trade, born in the high valleys of northern Pakistan, where the mountains kiss the sky and winters speak in white silence. He had spent most of his life alone in these frozen realms, mapping animal trails, tracking paw prints through snow, and learning to read the land like scripture. He wasn't a hunter, not anymore. Age had slowed his hands, and his heart had softened. What once was a profession had now become a kind of devotion. He didn't track animals to trap them anymore. He tracked them to understand them, to protect them even. It was mid-January when it happened. The forest was unusually still that morning, the air sharp as shattered glass. Snow blanketed everything, and the sun hadn't yet found the courage to rise. Ilyas was making his way through a narrow gorge, following the faint trail of a Himalayan ibex he had spotted the day before. But something wasn't right. The birds weren't singing. The wind wasn't moving. The forest felt paused. Then he heard it. A low, guttural growl, deep, almost primal. Not the kind of sound a healthy predator makes. It was filled with pain. Ilyas froze. He followed the sound, step by cautious step, heart pounding, breath fogging the icy air. The sound grew louder, angrier, desperate, and then, through the trees, he saw it. A snow leopard, caught. Its front leg was trapped in a rusty steel snare, one of those illegal devices poachers set out to catch wolves or foxes. The leopard was thrashing, its pale, spotted coat stained with blood and snow, eyes wide with terror and rage. Ilyas didn't move. He knew better. A wounded predator is the most dangerous kind. The leopard snapped its teeth in his direction, snarling, wild eyes locked on his. A clear warning. Come closer and die. But Ilyas didn't turn away. Instead, he slowly sat down in the snow. Not too close. Just enough to be seen. Just enough to not be a threat. He waited. Minutes passed, then hours. The sun crawled up behind the cliffs, casting gold across the white. The leopard, exhausted, eventually stopped struggling. It lay panting, legs still bleeding, eyes now dull with pain. And then Ilyas did something few would ever dare. He spoke, not in English, not even in his native tongue, but in soft, rhythmic tones, like a lullaby, a language of calm. You don't know me, he whispered, but I'm not here to hurt you. You're in pain. Let me help. Of course, the snow leopard didn't understand the words, but animals don't always need language. They feel energy, intention, vibration. He slowly opened his bag, pulled out an old sheepskin blanket. He didn't move toward the leopard. He tossed it gently over the trap, then waited. Another growl, but no attack. Then, slowly, he crept closer, 1 inch at a time. His hands trembled, not from the cold, from the fear. One wrong move, and that jaw could tear through his arm like tissue. But when he finally reached the trap, something incredible happened. The snow leopard looked away, just for a second. It was enough. With a rusted pocket tool, Ilyas worked on the trap. It took minutes, minutes that felt like years. The metal was old, frozen, resistant. But finally, with one loud snap, it opened. The leopard didn't move. It lay still, dazed. Then, with a slow, graceful motion, it pulled its leg free. Blood trickled down its paw, staining the snow crimson. Ilyas backed away, but the leopard didn't run. Instead, it looked at him, not with fear, not with rage, with something else, something strange. It stared for what felt like forever, and then, silent as a ghost, it limped into the trees, vanishing into the white. Ilyas sat there in the snow, breathless. It felt like a dream, but the bloodstains on the ground were real. The broken trap was real. And yet, that wasn't the strangest part. That came later. Weeks passed. Ilyas didn't speak of it to anyone. Who would believe him? But then one night, while tracking a herd of ibex near the same gorge, he found something unusual near his camp. A carcass, fresh, a mountain goat, untouched, killed cleanly, left for him. He was confused. Maybe another hunter had left it by mistake, but the next week it happened again, and again, always fresh, always clean, always left near his shelter. It was as if something was feeding him. And then one evening, he saw them, glowing eyes on the ridge, watching. A snow leopard, not limping anymore. It stood tall, majestic, silent, and beside it, a cub, smaller, younger, curious. The adult nodded its head, just slightly, and disappeared again into the shadows. Ilyas didn't chase. He just stood there, heart full, eyes wet, with something he couldn't explain. Respect? Gratitude? No, it was deeper than that. It was a connection. A silent understanding between two beings from different worlds. One that couldn't be spoken, only felt. To this day, Ilyas says he still sees the leopard sometimes. Not often, just glimpses. Eyes watching him from afar. Tracks near his cabin. A low growl in the night air, not of warning, but of recognition. He believes the leopard remembers, that somewhere deep inside that wild heart, it knows who helped it, knows who didn't run, knows who sat down in the snow and stayed. And in its own strange, untamed way, it said, "Thank you," not with words, but with trust. And in the animal world, that is the rarest gift of all. Most people go their entire lives thinking animals are beneath us, that they don't remember kindness, that they don't form bonds, that they're just wild things driven by hunger and instinct. But Ilyas knew better. He had looked into the eyes of a snow leopard and seen something more than survival. He had felt the presence of something sacred in the silence of the mountains, an intelligence that doesn't speak but understands, a kind of wild soul that, once touched, never forgets. What made it stranger was not just the leopard's silent gratitude, but how Ilyas changed after it. He stopped tracking. He stopped wandering. The mountains no longer felt like something to explore, but something to protect. And so he stayed, quietly, living in the same cabin, watching over the same trails, tending to injured deer, removing old traps he once walked past. He never spoke about the snow leopard to outsiders. He didn't need to, but the locals noticed. They said the wild animals started coming closer to his home, not in fear, not to attack, but to rest, to eat, to pass through without alarm. It was as if they knew he was one of them now, that the man who once followed the wild had become part of it. Some stories end with applause, others with monuments. But the best ones? They end in silence. In the still, cold morning when a man wakes up and sees fresh paw prints in the snow near his door and smiles because he knows. The snow leopard came back, and in that moment, without a single sound, they both remembered what the world seems to have forgotten. That trust is earned, not demanded. That real connection doesn't need to be explained. And that sometimes the strangest rewards come not in gold or glory, but in being seen, respected, and remembered by something the world said was incapable of love.